you're not allowed to say salam to them. Just
Yeah, I mean, you see, these are the things that need to be clarified, I mean, and we should do it in a way that uh, we don't mean any, you know, disrespect to anyone. It's only a concern that the message of the Almighty should be understood correctly. You don't say salam to a non-Muslim. It was something that is understandable when those non-Muslims rejected the messenger's message in a situation where it had become clear to them that it is from the Almighty. And the Almighty, in turn, had given his very clear understanding verdict that they are not going to return. Then obviously it's understandable. That is one area that needs to be clarified. That, when you understand history, hadith, seerah, understand it in the light of the Quran. Or else what you are going to get is a completely different religion. Honestly, right now, the the understanding of Islam that people carry with them, well, our humble understanding is a good part of it is not Islam. But we don't have a right to say these things with strong words. We will need to be humble, polite, and we should be sympathetic towards them. But this task has to be done. Yes, please. I don't believe you don't have questions. Yes.
one question that we try to
Phrase it properly. Yes.
at the times for prophet, you already described the Quran says very clearly what to do, or what, how Islam or religion should be propagated through the. The question is that church as well as Yehuds,
Synagogues.
they already had established themselves as an institution. They were teaching, they were taking care of all of those things. And on top of that, they were also doing the other things like colluding with with the rulers in trying to control the people. So they were disseminating the knowledge as well as they were part of that power team and helping one way or the other, positively or negatively, whatever you wanted to say. So would it be correct to say that is an established role of an institute at that time, a religious institute? When Quran says and strip off the Muslim scholars, telling them clearly your role is only to disseminate knowledge. You don't have to be part of the power game. So Quran is telling clearly that your role has to be minimized. The others, the reason they stood up, because they overstated their role, you should not do that. This is how I see it. Like. And in that case, when we say that if somebody is trying to establish say Islam, basically we need to tell it clearly. It is not even desirable, or it will even at the end of the day will create problems because you might be doing it for the sake of Islam. But the second person would be against you because of his vested interest, and that it will become just a power game.
Yeah.
And you are basically ruining or dragging Islam into that. So that's the reason the Quran says very clearly the role as a scholar is only stay away from the power games, stay away from dirty things, which has been done by the religious institute and that Jews and Christians.
I think you have a valid point, but if you look at the verse, the Almighty has mentioned whatever was necessary to be mentioned to uh, clarify what exactly is the need and what is the role scholars. Uh, Thereafter, obviously, there are a number of different possibilities, scenarios that the scholars would face while discharging their obligation. Uh, and they would play their role looking at those different possibilities in each scholar in his own respective circumstances. Uh, and obviously, they take decisions and they'll do ijtihad, but you're right. If they are scholars they would know that their responsibility is the most important. I mean, obviously, it would be a humble feeling. It should humble them. But to become a head of the state is not that fits into their description of responsibility. They should be, I agree, they should not be a part of any uh, political struggle directly, because all political leaders should feel that these scholars are ours. We can talk to them. And they should be able to guide, criticize, encourage everybody, because their role is a very special role. If they play it properly, the society would not get derailed from the correct path. But if they become a part of the power struggle, I agree, then what happens is that it doesn't help. I mean, people start looking at scholars also as people who are interested in power and controlling people, etc., which is what scholars should not enjoy as a reputation. So I do agree. And if you think that the Almighty mentioned it because this kind of an approach was adopted by the Jews and Christians, you have a point. This could be right. Yeah.
तो अगर जब हम आज के दौर में देखते हैं ये पिछले 4 5 8 10 कहानियों से, तो यहाँ पे तो जो हमारे रिलीजियस स्कॉलर्स हैं वो दे आर पार्ट ऑफ द पावर किंग, कि वो तो हमेशा जो भी रूलर्स हैं कोलैबोरेशंस के साथ वो हो रही है। रिसेंट सक्सेसफुल मॉडल था वो तो सऊदी से या ईरान से आप देख लें कि जो शुरू हुआ तो पैराबल्स, they went into an agreement how to manage the state police. You are going to guys. All हमारे जैसे पाकिस्तान में भी, इंडिया में भी, जैसे भी religious parties, religious political parties are, they're doing the same thing.
Yeah. You see, this is because of another narrative, religious narrative, which really was very popular, was very powerful, which said that the purpose of religion is to establish God's deen in the society. And, when we were young, that narrative was something that dominated, well, at the university that I studied and I taught. My goodness. I mean, it was all politics in the name of religion. And I'm telling you, there was a generation that actually got distance from religion because of what they saw. I mean, I saw with my own eyes the way education was completely destroyed. It creates a mess when you start telling people that your creator wants you to participate in protests, in demonstrations, in boycotts, in speeches. That's what happens. So again, because people are emotionally attached to this understanding, nothing can be done except that we talk about it. And therefore, my earlier statement holds true. We have to remain polite in our discussion and keep telling people that let's come back to it. And honestly, probably, it's the most important thing that every human would do well to get himself equipped with, particularly Muslims, and in particular Muslim scholars, that we should develop the ability to do soul searching and be self-critical. Self-critical does not only mean that I should ask myself, how many times did I tell lies in the past? That's great. That's what I should do. But it also includes uh, my critical appraisal of what I hold as the right religious understanding. I must keep critically examining, or else it would really become a part of my system about which I would not even bother to think. And that would really mean that uh, whenever I'll talk to somebody else, I'll be biased. I'll not even listen to the other point of view. That's what's happening.
It means that there should be some way that there should be a direct understanding of religious. The common people should connect with the holy books. We as Muslims should connect directly to the Quran without any interpretations from the scholars. Because whenever the third party gets involved, uh, they comes, I mean, Western press or even kind of or willing or even not willing, their perspective will be coming to that.
You see, that's the reason I keep provoking you to ask questions. Is that is how wisdom comes forth. Now, what he's asking is actually, if you look at it, in one way, he has destroyed my lecture. But in another way, honestly, it really has added to it. I'm saying destroyed my lecture because he's saying that we should be independent, even if you are not scholar, which is your right. But I'm saying that it's not, what it has added value to what I've already said. What you're saying is right. That's what you should do. And a scholar should make himself appear as a scholar. He should prove his worth by listening to you, your questions, and responding to them. I mean, if he is properly well versed in Islamic scholarship, in understanding the Quran, then you will ask him a question. And what you're saying is not what the Quran is saying. And he'll explain. Can you imagine? This is what the Prophet ﷺ himself did. Can you imagine? A verse was revealed, and there was a new Muslim, Adi ibn Hatim, the son of the famous Hatim Tai. The Quran accused the Jews and the Christians of making their scholars and rabbis as gods, as Rabb, other than God. And Adi ibn Hatim, he came to the Prophet and he said that I have been a Christian for quite a while. And now I have converted to Islam. I am telling you this did not happen. Can you imagine the question? He is in a good sense, with a good purpose. He is challenging the Quran. And before whom? The Prophet. He says, I am telling you this did not used to happen. We did not make them lords other than Allah. And the Prophet politely, that's what he was. He said, is it not a fact that when they would tell you that such and such thing is haram, you would say this is haram. And if they would tell you such and such thing is halal, you'd say it's halal. He said that is exactly what tantamounts to making them arbaba min dunillah. And that actually answers your question too. You see, that is what is the power of the Prophet's statements. That a common man, according to what the Prophet ﷺ said, should not take the words of the scholars on their face value. They should say, sir, how are you saying that? I mean, what is the basis? And this is sadly what has somehow been prevented from happening because of the atmosphere. You dare ask this question? Who are you? Get out. And you would never ever even think of asking a question. Then what happened? Honestly, I mean, people, they throw books on the faces of people, who ask questions. How dare you ask this? So this is a very important thing that you mentioned, that a common man has to understand the Almighty's book and religion on his own because he is not himself properly equipped and trained, at times he's going to get stuck. And when he's going to go to his scholar, he will hopefully clarify clarify the point to him, or would hopefully kill him, depending on who the person is.
So in this way, I'm sorry you're taking it longer. As you started, you said that's the reality that every society has needs, and we need people with different expertise. We need engineers, we need doctors, and those people are responsible for advancement, for research, for everything that that particular society needs. If we put scholars, especially religious scholars, in this category, then if we are putting everything on all the burden on their shoulders, so
if the things are not going clear, I mean, in the right path, so common people can say that, just like we say that I'm not an engineer, I didn't, so I can say that I was not a scholar, I was not, I didn't get the clarifications, I didn't get the satisfaction. So all the burden of misleading to the people will be going to the shoulders of the scholars. They will be held responsible for that.
You see, you have a valid point, and that is unfortunately what is happening right now. There are many people who say that it's not our job, it's their job, they'll tell us. But what I'm telling you is that the verse that I mentioned today and the clarification that I came up with, it really has to do with a special group of people who should be there making sure that the society doesn't go off track. So they keep reminding. But that doesn't really mean that the common man has been absolved of his responsibility. He or she, they have to study and understand their religion as best as they can. Where are they going to study from? Obviously from the text, but also from the scholars. They have to continue to use their intellect, be critical, and this should be an ongoing process. So through their cooperation and their good input, and with the right attitude of the scholars, this task is going to continue to be discharged in the society as best as is possible.
I think scholars and Muslim scholarship we take is just another protection. The
Right.
Quran ayat basically tells us
Yeah,
that they are this group of
Yeah.
protections. The problem is that we have assumed that if I will not come to you and try to tell you what religion is, you never will have any urge to know who is your God, why I am here. That is the undertone always that is generally taken by normal mullahs, that I have to shove the religion in your mouth. Otherwise, you are going to the hell anyways. Like, no child specialist, no engineer will come to your house and force you to buy or do a design, because you will one day have to build a house. You need a network service. You need, your child will go to hospital. The result of that will be whenever that requirement comes, you will naturally start looking based on your capabilities or where the best solution is. We have assumed that all of the human beings, they will never have the urge, and we have to shove them, we have to guide them, we have to manhandle them. That is where the problem is.
Yeah, let's not forget that when we are talking about this whole idea, there is something with all of us, all Muslims, which is the Quran. And as Muslims, we have to read it. So, as you rightly pointed out, we have to read the Quran, understand it. But the scholars are going to help us in understanding it better. They will let us know that, there are certain things that are important. They'll point it out. We'll read it from there. And it's a kind of a self-correcting process that's going to be there in the society. That is, the scholars are not doing their task. The commoners are going to let them know that, it's not happening properly. We are faced with a situation that kind right now. We are finding it difficult to see things getting corrected because of the approach, because of sectarianism, factions. I keep saying it's one of, if you come up with a theory, you're unnecessarily fond of it. So, I keep saying that the biggest problem in this world in general, and the Muslims in particular, is the problem of communication. We don't communicate properly. I think that's the first thing that needs to be done. If you're not communicating properly, you're not understanding what the others are saying, you're not talking to others in a polite, proper way, it is problematic. Then there is something seriously wrong. If I'm doing something wrong and you're not telling me, well, you know, I'll face the difficulty and the problem that I'm not even aware of, because you knew better, you could see it, and we're not communicating. So that's important. I think if you'll ask any further question, I'll not be able to answer it simply because I'm tired. So let's call it a day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.